Welcome to 10 Talks, real conversations with champions for champions. I'm your host, Emily Love.
And I'm Carlette Patterson, your head sports life coach. And the desired outcome of our real conversations for champions with champions is to share our passion for sports life coaching. We want to get you coached, and our purpose for training you for a life that you love is we want to connect you to what matters to you in your life and the power of being a champion in your own life. A champion life is a 10 life.
At the ripe old age of 24, the doctor handed my husband and I our precious baby girl. In between tear-stained cheeks and hearts so full, we looked at each other terrified by the enormous responsibility we had just been assigned. As a mom of 4, I am constantly on the hunt for ways to improve and grow as a mom. One of my favorite quotes on parenting is this: "Your greatest contribution to the world may not be something you do, but someone you raise." This word picture reminds me that my job as a parent is sacred ground. This week on 10 Talks, our desired outcome is to talk about 3D parenting and the benefits of having a coach in your life. Here to join us for our conversation is Jackie Miller, a mom and businesswoman who currently works as a real estate agent for Russ Lyons Sotheby's International. Jackie, welcome to the show. Carlette, we are ready to get coached and dive into our conversation with the champion.
Welcome to the Life Gym. We are so excited to have Jackie today and really want to dive into what does it really look like to have a coach when you're parenting. You know, so many times we think that as a mom that we've got to manage all these things by ourselves. We've got to be super mom and superwoman, be a wife and a mom. And there's just a lot to manage to make sure that we are living this life that we really want, and also providing our family with having the family system that's really all about what matters to us as a family, like what's for significance to us. Jackie, you are a great example of what it takes to be intentional in your parenting. So welcome, Jackie. We're so glad to have you and excited to talk to you today about coaching and what coaching has done for you as a parent. So tell us a little bit about your story and what it's been like to have a coach on your journey.
Okay, well, I have been married to my husband now for 22 years. When I met him, he had 2 boys that were 8 and 6 years old, and I became an instant mom at 24 years old without any coaching. And we proceeded along, and then we had Blake and then CJ. Blake is now 19, CJ's 16. And we moved a lot. We both always worked. I was very involved in the school districts. And I think for me, it was a perfect storm, a combination of my personality, which was a pleaser, growing up on the East Coast in a very academic pressured household in terms of being sure you go to the right college and succeed. My father was a doctor. My mom had her master's. My brother was going to be a doctor. And so it set me up in a situation where I had a lot of pressures that I was putting on myself and putting on the kids. And when I met Carlette, I was just in about a bit of a tailspin, specifically with my kids. They were now in high school. I was trying to get them ready for college, and I was checking their grades every 5 minutes, and there was a lot of anxiety for me and pressure in the house and a lot of difficult fights between me and the kids. And all in all, it just was not going well, and I had a lot of fear-based decisions and just a lot of anxiety that was translating into my kids as well. And that's when I met Carlette. And it's been completely transformative.
Jackie, you have done the work for it. And I think that's one of the winning strategies, that so many people want the result, but are they willing to really do the work and to trust a coach to come in and be able to say, if we're going to get a different result, we have to be and do different. And you have been amazing at really embracing the challenge of focusing on the desired outcome of, I want a different family result at this point. And I'm not being the mother that I really want to be. And I'm not getting the results that I want as a wife and in who I want to be to my children. It's not calm. It's not inviting. It's not really that encouraging atmosphere that I always really thought of for our family. So what did you really learn about yourself? That's who we start with, right? We're committed to not changing anybody else in the system, but we're really committed to doing the work. So it wasn't about changing your kids or your husband. It was all about making the changes that you wanted to make. And so how did you do that? How did you really step into that role of change?
Well, it wasn't very easy. And as I went back this morning to see when we started working together by going through my emails, and it's 2014 already. I felt in the beginning that I was just kept talking about the same things every time we talked. So I was making progress, of course, but I still was struggling. So first it took a while for me to believe and take the leap of faith to change, because it was very scary to change, because I felt that if I changed the way I was parenting and it wasn't right and something went haywire, you can't go back. I couldn't get those high school years back. And what if I made a mistake and it was too late? So I struggled a lot. Then several years into the coaching, one of the most interesting things I thought we did, Carlette had my entire family do personality tests and a whole system that Carlette will remind me of the name of. And we all sat down as a family. We analyzed our personality tests, and it just really helped to show how each person in the family was different, and the kids really understood why I was different. And that helped us all finalize the actual, I think, change, if that makes sense. I really released my control and started coaching versus trying to manage and control everybody and everything.
Jackie, what I hear as we talk through that is that you've done the work for a couple of years on yourself and your team family. And when we talk about doing the work, that's really about showing up. Jackie and I met every week for 30 minutes, and we'd give her a particular tool to work on, and she'd have the desired outcome for the week. And then whatever was going on with her family, I'd coach her up so that she had in her hand a tool that she was committed to practicing during the week. And that's what you're going to hear. Jackie was very intentional about showing up for workouts, practicing the tool, and also bringing the honesty to be able to say, I am really struggling and I'm scared. Like, I can't get this wrong, or what will happen? So I just love your thoughts and your ideas. I love what you're telling me about you had no idea if this was really going to work. And so we did the work week after week after week for a couple of years. And then we brought the family into the system, and they became the family team. And I just want you to hear how important it is that you're doing the work for yourself, not really including your support team as much as you love them supporting you. They don't really understand what you're doing, and they don't really get that you're trying to change them. So how can we really honor and respect the changes you're going through? All of our coaching is about starting with the person that's interested and what's their desired outcome. And then eventually we do want to bring in a support team so that you can go from good to great model and start to see that transformational change really take off.
Along those lines, one of the hardest things, and why it felt like it took a long time for me to be able to complete my change in how I was parenting, was because like Carlette said, I'd be on the phone, we'd be coaching. I loved the ideas. I love how it all felt. I would try it, but it didn't seem like anybody else was doing it around me. Everybody else, all the other parents I saw, were doing what I thought was the right thing to do. Managing the grades, putting all this pressure. So I felt like I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't holding them accountable or having the right pressure, and they wouldn't have the results. And I even had someone say to me once, well, when you stopped parenting Blake, blah, blah, blah. And it's been hard. I think a lot of people view what I have done as stop parenting in some ways.
And Jackie, how would you view that?
I knew what I was doing, and I knew that, first of all, the relationships that I was having with the boys were so much healthier, and how far they were coming and I saw how much they were developing. It just wasn't in the way that the world thinks. They weren't going to an Ivy League college, but we had a better family environment. They felt better about themselves, and they were starting to find what they loved and what they wanted to do, even though it might not have been what every other parent would have wanted for their kids, if that makes sense.
I think that's so powerful. As a mom with littles, I can resonate with your story, Jackie, and just feeling like the pressure that people put on us as moms can feel so heavy to make it look like what everybody else is doing. But what resonates with your story and me is you could feel that it wasn't right for you. We talk in sports life coaching about how everyone deserves their own journey. Well, oftentimes you might see all these parents parenting the same way, but we can't see their anxiety or their, issues behind closed doors, but you felt your own, pressure and anxiety. And I just love that you had the courage to say, I'm going to be different. I think that's really hard as moms, again, feeling judged for a million different reasons. When we choose our own journey, it's like, wow, I'm going to have to take the courage to be different. And that feels kind of maybe, a little lonely sometimes, a little isolating. And
yes,
I just learned so much from you really taking the courage to go, you know what? I'm done feeling anxious. I'm done feeling this family pressure. It's worth it to try something new because I want a different result. So tell me when because you started the coaching first and then you guys started to work on it as a family, but what did your boys say about the coaching as you started? And could you start to, kind of see, when could you see the shift in your family dynamics and what did that look like? Because I think that could be encouraging for people to know, like, it might not change right away, but when I changed myself and not changed, the boys, then I started to see some maybe positive outcomes.
Yes, it's very interesting. Mostly interesting right now looking back, to have this conversation, to have that ability to look back and be with other people I know and seeing their family dynamics. And I mean, we are so different as a family right now. My kids are so different. They don't even seem the same because everybody has gotten so much more confident and less anxious. So that's been 4 years or 5 years almost now. We saw little changes along the way, but they didn't know they were being, not that they didn't know they were being coached. It was just, it took a long time is the best way to say it. It was just slowly over the years, I started to change and then they started to change. And now it just looks completely different. So it's not immediate.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I think that is, change is so hard and we know that. So again, just having that, you stuck to it and it wasn't immediate. I think that's the other thing as moms, like you said, I can so resonate with feeling like if I get this wrong, I don't get a redo, but you had the courage to stick with it. And oftentimes when we need to change, it's not going to be immediate, right? Like maybe some things we'll notice, but you really felt that it was right for your family and you stuck with it and then the change proceeded. So I think that is a beautiful message of hope.
It really is. We are thrilled. And I'm so much less stressed.
Jackie, what's great about the challenge that you took on is that anytime we want change, we know that the purpose has to be bigger than the pain. And there's nothing more purposeful than our love for our family. And so many times we want the change, but we really don't know how to do it. And team, I really want you to hear that the power of hope and also the courage that it really took for Jackie's connectivity to what we are speaking about weekly and exactly what she wanted to accomplish week by week, that she did the work and she set out to do it. And the other thing that's really important is that Jackie was using the tools herself, and then she would use the tools with her family. So it isn't as if she was isolated. It was like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can and be totally transparent with the family for them to know, hey, mom is getting coached up. And the reason I'm getting coached up is you matter to me so much. And just getting this family system set up for success matters so much to me that I'm going to go get coached. And that's our live it to give it model. It's really, as parents, our children don't hear so much about what we say. They are really watching us all the time to see what we're modeling. And Jackie was a great model to her family. And that is what's something that I really want to connect with, somebody that can help me achieve what I want to achieve. And the boys got to watch Jackie be able to say, this week I talked to Carlette about this and about that. and here's the tool, and we want to use it to set our family up for success. That's what's so powerful about hearing that we can be set up for success, but it takes an additional component to really take it into your friends and your family and to be able to speak about it.
And to that note, I was going to ask, what are some of your favorite tools that you implemented that Carlette gave you as you started coaching?
Well, one is speak my truth. I hear Carlette in my head all week long because I'll be going through something in my head. I'll say, okay, speak your truth, So I do. I speak my truth with the boys. I just tell them how I'm feeling. And all of a sudden, a lot of crazy things, stress and anxiety goes away. One of the things was amazing with Blake going back to a couple of years ago when we were having a lot of fights about college, and when Carlette helped me identify what the issue was, why I was so focused on college. And when I finally told Blake the whole story, he said, I wish you had told me that 2 years ago. That would have made everything so much different. I would have understood where you were coming from. So that was a turning point for all of us. So I just speak my truth. I just tell them how I'm feeling. And I try to outline my expectations too. We talk, and before we go somewhere, I'll talk to Carlette, and, she'll say, what are your desired outcomes? So I'll talk to them about what my desired outcomes are, what are theirs, what are they trying to get out of it? And everybody outlines whether it be a vacation or a semester or a season, what's going to make it a 10. And then we're all on the same page. And then we're all trying to help each other get to their desired outcomes. So those are two things, speaking truth and talking about desired outcomes.
Jackie, I want to talk about the performance barriers that showed up as you started this transformational change inside your family. There's performance barriers with you, with your peers, right? Because all of a sudden, when you start changing, they start wondering, like, wait a minute, is what I'm doing wrong? Is there just a lot of self-doubt that shows up? Because we're on this powerful mission of really having this great family. And then there's this performance barriers of the kids just being like, wait a minute, I don't even know if I want change. And then all of a sudden your husband's like, what the heck, what's happening here? So, just talk to us about any performance barriers that you remember when all of a sudden you showed up different because you'd been getting coached.
Well, I don't think specifically once I started to change, I never felt that anybody that I knew looked and said, oh, what you doing seems right, because everybody was so fixed in their positions that they were doing it right. So that was a big performance barrier because I felt like I was the only one doing things differently. That was the biggest. The kids, once everybody started feeling less anxious, I don't feel like the kids ever said, I don't want this change. I think especially once we all sat down as a family and went through the personality tests, they really were supportive of the change. They wanted their independence. They wanted to be coached, not controlled. So that was not a performance barrier. They were all in. And Tom, he thinks a lot like Carlette, not having ever been officially coached. It's just the way his mind works. So he was really thrilled all along. So internally in my family, I really did have a lot of support, even though I would never have known that going in. It just, as I went along with it, I could see that everybody was supporting, but the external was very difficult.
Jackie, let's talk about how this really happened. Let's start with the alarm clocks and doing your own laundry and just managing responsibilities. Just that statement you said about being coached versus being controlled, that's a powerful statement. And as great as it sounds, how do we do that? So let's take us through what it's really like when you started to introduce the boys to waking up on their own, doing their own laundry, just that independence that you coach them through.
Yes, so we just started with specific things each week, and I would also use a little bit of all kids need money, and I wanted them to start learning about earning money, managing a budget, being independent. And Blake was older, and he was in 3 sports, so he couldn't get a job, and CJ was too young to have a job, a traditional job, even though he did some things. So I incorporated a lot of these tools like alarm clocks, doing laundry on themselves. And then there was a bonus at the end. They would get their allowance if they completed the tasks properly. So, but it was hard. I mean, specifically with Blake, when we started the alarm clocks, he slept through and was late to a lot of his athletic practices. And his coaches would be calling me and would be angry. And I would just say, I'm not waking him up anymore because he needs to learn how to wake up when he gets to college. So we did incorporate that, and that went on for years. And then it just got into bigger and bigger things. When Blake went to college, we said, we're not giving you any spending money. And he had to learn how to manage his funds that he had earned over the years and through graduation gifts. And it actually translated now this summer as a sophomore in college. He ended up getting a roofing job in Arizona because he knew he had to make money to get him through. And now he actually has now 2 more jobs that he's just gotten for the year. But if we hadn't started that 4 or 5 years ago, he wouldn't be doing it now. So it was a long process, but they've learned to be independent. And CJ, just specifically, I don't want to be too long, but CJ was different because CJ, we started this really when he started high school. I don't even know how to sign into his grades at all, which is crazy because I was checking Blake's grades every 15 minutes. And so he's been independent all through high school. This morning was his first early morning football practice, and he woke up by himself. I didn't even tell him he had to. And it's so different, our lives, and they're so independent.
Talk to me about the 3-dimensional life. I feel like as a mom, we can get caught up in the success of our children is our own success. And I love what you're talking about. It's you were letting them learn. And so not taking on that when the coach calls and he's mad, it's like, hey, this is their life. Again, everyone deserves their own journey. We're coaches in parenting, and we're trying to set them up for success to live their own life. But it can be really hard, that push and pull of, if they're successful, I'm successful. If they fail, I fail. And I know that's not a healthy place to be as a mom. So can you talk about that, Jackie? Does that make sense to you? Did you feel some of that in terms of when you let them fail, really having to kind of separate yourself and go, hey, it's not necessarily my failure. I can't take it so personally.
Absolutely. And it was very hard. And I can give a lot of examples, not failures, but just, I stopped, managing the boys' bedrooms, and Blake was in charge and CJ was in charge of laundry and cleaning up their rooms. And one of Blake's friends came up once. They're like, he has ants in his bedroom. I'm like, because he's keeping food down there.
Oh, yeah.
And I did not go clean it up, and he eventually got frustrated enough with it, or a girlfriend would be coming over or something, and then he would clean it. So, I mean, I think my friends would be horrified if they knew, and now they will, that Blake had ants in his bedroom. Mm-hmm. So that's one example. And academically, they are going down their own path, and Blake just changed his major. I kind of helped him and registered into the business school there, pre-business. And within 2 months, he said, oh, I hate this. But now he's in charge of all of it. He's making his own decisions. He's meeting with his counselor. He's living independently. I have not done his laundry in a long time. So it's, I don't know if I've answered your question, but it's amazing how different it's become. And there are embarrassing moments.
What were your winning strategies, Jackie, and not let's take the ants in the bedroom and not allowing that, to cause you anxiety? What was your process, or what were the winning strategies that you took yourself through to just not, go to that maybe place of guilt or, negative self-talk? How did you separate yourself out to where you were, able to positively walk through that and just go, hey, this is their journey. They're responsible for it. Do you have any winning strategies of what you did in the moment to not get worked up?
I just kept telling myself I'm doing the right thing. It's better now than when he's 30 or when he's 40 with 2 children and a wife, and not managing or feeling responsible for his own actions and behaviors and getting things organized well to be successful.
Jackie, that's just the perfect example of the purpose being bigger than the pain. Team, I really just want you to hear that you can hear Jackie's courage and you can hear her struggle. You can hear her humanness because it's so difficult to be able to anchor into purpose. And know that the pain right now for my children in high school, or for me to be invested with my children, knowing that this is producing great adults and that the desired outcome is that this is actually a training time for my child. I'm actually training them up to be adults, and they're going to spend the rest of their life being adults. They're only going to be kids in high school and junior high for a really short amount of time. It feels like forever, but it's definitely a shorter time than being those great adults. And these are habits and these are rituals and routines that as parents, sometimes we think we just need to take great care of them when they're home and just be there and do everything for them so they don't have any stress and they don't have anything to worry about. And really being able, because I work in the college market as well, we see this happen. We see that the parents have taken such great care of the athletes or their students. They show up and their parents have taken care of everything for them. And I think that one of the biggest winning strategies for Jackie is that she really trusted that what we're doing and what we're attached to producing this success for our kids is really going to show up when they go off to college. So if you're a parent and you're not training your child to be independent and they're at home, when they're in this space and they fail as a mom and a dad, you've got them. But when they get to college, it doesn't work because you've added all the pressure of college. And then I added all the pressure of now I'm actually on my own, which I've never really even done that before. And I've got to start taking care of myself. So I'm going to challenge us as parents that we are actually training our children up for success and that their failures at home and in the environment where we can coach them up and really talk them through our family value system, I want you to hear that Jackie is just radiating her family system, her family values, that financial component, that responsibility component. The beautiful part of honoring each one of her boys in a different way, really about who they are. She didn't come in and try to coach them up the same way. She started with love. She loved them. She honored them. And then she started speaking truth so that they could speak truth back to her. She modeled that failure is going to be a part of this plan for success and that it takes a lot of courage and just that stick-to-itiveness to really stay on purpose. That's what produces great boys, a great family. This is how I'm going to do this. The other thing I want to dive into, Jackie, is that three-dimensional component of life. Remember, team, our three dimensions that we're committed to living are we want to live a professional life for success, a personal life for significance, and a philanthropic life for service. And remember, those are all based on your definition of success, significance, and service. And Jackie is really a great model for us as she talks to us about her definition of significance in her family. She really started working on herself and then working inside her family system. And that was for significance, for her to really have what she wanted as a family. She was then coaching up the boys for success in their professional life, which is going to school. So our college athletes or our high school athletes, remember our kids' jobs are really to get out there and to get educated and to go to in sports. If they're playing sports, that's another job. So remember, we can have a profession starting at a really young age. And she was really making sure that they were set up for success from that perspective. Let's talk about the philanthropic service component because, Jackie, you have been amazing at really coaching up your boys to see that it's not all about them and that we're really connected to this beautiful community. And how did you implement philanthropy into your family?
Well, actually, when Carlette and I first met, that's how we met, is through an organization we created called Sports Superheroes. And Blake was I think they were both in middle school at the time, or Blake might have just started high school. And we created this whole organization around helping give hope through a group of student athletes. So that's how the journey started. I've always been a very philanthropic person and always involved in charities and always in volunteering, so I've been modeling that. But this was the first that they really got involved. And we did a walk for hope for Phoenix Children's Hospital and a Cape Crusade. CJ, even in middle school, went and made a presentation to a local business person who gave, I think, a $5,000 scholarship sponsorship at the time. And they really started to learn the benefits of giving to others. And it's just carried through. Blake focused a lot on Miracle League, which is a local organization here in town with disabled athletes that play baseball near our home. So he volunteered there. And CJ's just found something he's loved as well. He's now working with Habitat for Humanity and Restore as an organization. And he spent the summer working there, doing his community service. And I just think they've learned, you either are empathetic or you aren't empathetic. I think they're empathetic by nature, but they have learned to think of others. And we did spend some time in Africa last summer as well. Blake worked in an orphanage, and that was very eye-opening for him to see how different people's lives are. That's really stuck with him as well.
That is so inspiring. How do you notice that it changes them and just their spirit? You know, we talk a lot about how giving hope gives us endorphins and oxytocin and stuff. Can you speak on how you see that change their demeanor and, you know, maybe their perspectives on their own lives?
Oh, it's very dramatic in terms of the endorphins. I mean, it's as dramatic to me as when the kids go out the door for whatever they're doing and they don't feel good and they're going to work out or they're going to practice and they come home just completely different, literally completely different attitude. They've worked out and their endorphins have been released. That's how they come back from the community service and what they've done. You know, Blake went to Africa, he climbed Kilimanjaro and he worked in this orphanage and he just was so appreciative of everything he has, and he has all these videos with these amazing children, and he just felt very good about it, very appreciative of his own life and also what he was able to give to others. And same with CJ. I mean, they leave the car one person and they come back when I pick them up as a totally different person.
That is such a 10 model, especially as I have little kids and I can think about the ways that I can, you know, help them give hope even in their, you know, young ages. Jackie, what's your favorite way to give hope to the world?
I'm involved in an organization called Mother's Grace, and we help mothers who have come across a sudden acute situation that's derailed themselves and their families based on whether being diagnosed with a disease for them or their family, or losing a job or something that just has taken them off their course. And the way our founder speaks about it is that we're just an answer to a prayer at a moment when you just want to throw up your hands and give up. That's how I've been being philanthropic, is through Mother's Grace. So I've loved it, and I love helping these moms. And we turn things around in 24 hours and pay their rent or pay their utility bills. It's just very immediate and it's very specific, and you can see the results. So that's how I have been giving hope over the last few years.
Team, I really want you to be able to hear the passion in Jackie's voice. And really, when we coach up in our 3 dimensions, usually the one that people are somewhat unfamiliar with is that philanthropic 3rd dimension. And I just want you to hear and remember, to be a sports philanthropist or to just be a philanthropist, it's all about giving hope. And you can give hope just by a smile, anything from small to large. It's still going to give you the same transformational feeling that Jackie said, that it was so great to really feel like, you know, she was in her car 1 minute and then you're feeling like a 1, and then you go and you give hope to somebody and you feel like a 10. It's amazing that we have the power to really transform ourselves from being a 1 to a 10 by giving hope to somebody else. There's not a lot in life that we can have immediate results, but we certainly can when we give hope. It's one of those dimensions that you got to hear Jackie say that changed. Really what happened in her family was really difficult, and it was slow going through that whole transformational change with her family, personally and professionally. But philanthropically, she could have this amazing immediate change just from going out and giving hope to someone. So this week, I want to really challenge you to give hope in every way that you can. Jackie certainly is giving hope to parents today as you talk about what it's like to really get coached up with our kids for success, significance, and service. We really appreciate you, Jackie. And number one, just to have the courage to get coached. And number two, to have that consistency and that commitment to practice, practice, practice. And number three, to continue to evolve from really a good to great model constantly. Team, I really want you to remember that who you are matters, that your kids matter, your family system matters, and what you want to be able to give them and train them up to be great adults. It starts with training them to be great kids and just a great part of your family.
Jackie, thank you so much for being courageous enough to tell your story and speaking just for me. You've given me so much to think about as I continue to raise up confident, successful, and independent kids. Carlette, thank you so much for the great workout today.
So team, it's time to practice, practice, practice. And the good news is you're going to get plenty of reps out there in the real world. We get plenty of time to practice being successful, significance, and giving hope for service. And most importantly, be you. You matter. Nothing but 10s.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget, tune in next week and head over to iTunes and Spotify and hit subscribe.
Remember, a championship life is a 10 life. You matter. Your life matters. Create a life that you love. Give hope to others and be and choose nothing but 10s. Be you. The world needs you. Go to lifetrainingacademy.com.